Hey everybody, Tyler from Duel XMage here. Coming to you a little late this week. Had a few plans that kind of didn't pan out as far as XMage goes. I was planning to play Teysa, Karlov, the deck we brewed last week live, but it's technically programmed into the beta server, but the beta server is not online right now, so there's no way to play that. I'll double check at the end of the stream and see if the server status changed, but if not, we're just going to do another Let's Brew segment this week, and I'm actually pretty excited because last week was such a great success. I was blown away by everyone who got involved and all your suggestions that were amazing. I thought of a few ways and got us some feedback of ways to make it even better this time and a little more streamlined. So I'm going to probably be reminding people of this throughout the stream, but one of the suggestions that was really good was to kind of preload, or I know even last week I loaded some staples up, but I actually went through and took some time to look at some of the really obvious synergy cards for Judith. And I put those into a Google Sheet and preloaded my XMage deck editor with them. And these cards, I mean, they're kind of like cards such as Skull Clamp last week with Teysa. Well, and this week too, I guess, with Judith. But people came back in over and over and were suggesting Skull Clamp, and it was one of the first things we all kind of agreed upon. But just to kind of ensure that people, there's not as much redundancy as far as the suggestions go, I went ahead and created a Google Sheet that's shared, viewable. You can see it in real time as things get added, and that way I'm going to keep adding a list of cards that people in the chat add, as well as the cards that I kind of preloaded here as my kind of what I call preliminary 60. This was an idea by Hello Newton in the Discord, and I think it was good. So like I said, just obvious cards like Skull Clamp, in the case of Judith, Goblin Bombardment. This is just a slam dunk synergy card. So I put it in there. I put 60 such cards in there, and they're on a column to the left called Preliminary 60. And so you don't have to bother with suggesting those cards because they're already set to go there. And I'm going to add new cards you guys suggest to the right in the column to the right. I think I called it like chat suggestions or something like that. But anyway, yeah, the link is in the video description. Just click that and you can follow along in real time. The other thing I wanted to do to kind of improve the stream and streamline it a little bit was just to have a real clear discussion up front, kind of what direction we want to take with the deck. And I don't want to just ram anything down your throats. I want this to be collaborative. So if there is something, if you feel strongly about like the direction this deck should go, let me know up front, and then we can not kind of waste time, quote unquote, with suggesting stuff that's not in alignment with that direction. So for example, like last week, Teysa, we could have gone tokens, could have gone death triggers / value, or something else. I forget, but basically it was those two directions, and they were kind of at odds a little bit. So with Judith, let's talk about Judith. I can't really zoom in on her, but there's a picture to the right. Judith is 3 mana for a 2/2 human shaman. And she says, other creatures you control get +1/+0, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith the Scourge Diva deals 1 damage to any target. So that's really pretty unique and pretty strong ability. Unfortunately, you don't get any triggers from your tokens dying, but I think there's enough ways around that to still get a ton of value. So she's kind of like Teysa in the sense that you want to sacrifice a lot of creatures. but she kills your opponent a lot faster than Teysa, so you're not durdling around as much. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I have a timer here because we kind of went on a little bit too long last time, so you can see this little timer in the upper right, and I just kind of arbitrarily pick 60 minutes, but we're gonna say that we're gonna cut off any considerations at 60 minutes tops. Like ideally, even we would want to wrap it up sooner than that, but for sure 60 minutes. So I'm gonna get that started here in a second, and no. It's okay. Yeah, so let's see here. I forgot to do one little thing here. All right. So, yeah, let's talk about the direction we want to take this deck. So in my opinion, there are two really clear, I guess, directions you could go with this deck. And they're not super distinct. I guess they're kind of distinct. One of them is like Suicide Black-Red, which this would be like running a ton of 1-drops, Goblin Guide, stuff like you're sacrificing your whole board to get them to 0 as fast as possible. And it's kind of going to be like mono red, like more like a Karizev type deck, if we go that route. And the other route we could take is going more like black-red mid-range / value. And this would be running more token producers that maybe aren't as, they're not putting as much power on the board, but they're dividing it up into multiple bodies, and they're offering a little more resilience to like spot removal and some of those value engines that can grind to a victory over time. So like cards like Bitter Blossom would be a good example. So you're just getting a token every upkeep, and eventually those tokens are going to overwhelm your opponent. So please let me know in the chat what you think the direction you want to go with this. Remember, this is Duel Commander, so just 20 life. It's French EDH, 20 life. Ban list you can Google if you need to know the ban list for Duel Commander. But that's going to inform a lot of the card choices, I think, especially for this type of deck, because we're not running, stuff like Grave Titan necessarily. It's just 6 mana is just a ton of mana in this format. So let me just talk about, while you guys are kind of getting online here, let me just talk about the talk about some of the cards I picked out already. Tuk wasn't able to join us in person, but he's in the chat right now, and he says he wants to go Goblin Tribal. No goblins. We had enough of Grenzo. No, I'm just kidding. I could actually see Goblin Tribal being okay, honestly, like in reality. I mean, you got Goblin Bombardment. That's a Goblin card, right? Because her ability makes a lot of sense with goblins, but she's not a goblin herself, so that obviously limits things a little bit. Some of the cards I picked out are cards that probably will make the cut regardless of if we want to go Suicide Black-Red or Black-Red value, like Goblin Bombardment, for example, Soulscar Mage. Some of these 1-drops are really good. Soulscar Mage for sure, because she turns Judith's pings into -1/-1 counters if you go for creatures. All right. sorry, Tuk. Maybe I guess I should say that I will admit that Goblin Tribal would be a valid third option to go, but I think I'm gonna leave that to you if you want to build a Judith Goblin deck. All right, we have our first suggestion, Murderous Redcap. I don't have that on my list right now, actually, but that's a good suggestion. I don't have all these goblins coming to the top of my mind. So Murderous Redcap is 2/2 Goblin Assassin with Persist, and when it ETBs, you deal damage equal to its power to target creature or player. This is the kind of card I would definitely put in like the value version of Judith if we decide to go that route. So I still need some input. People are just joining us. I still need input about the direction. But Murderous Redcap is a great suggestion. Let me add that. Okay, this is going to get a little weird. I'm going to add Murderous Redcap. Hopefully you can see that in the Google Sheet if you're just joining us. The link's in the video description, and I just added Murderous Redcap to the list of cards added by the chat. So, all right, keep them coming. In the meantime, I'm going to discuss some of the cards that I put in here. Yeah. So Tuk made a good point about creatures that kind of return on their own from the graveyard. And that's a good segue into like some of these cards that I added already, like Bloodghast. I think this is a great direction to go. It's looking like we're leaning toward value in that case, because Bloodghast, it's 2 power, 2 drop. It's fine. It's not the most aggressive card in the world, but it's really resilient. And it comes back every time you play a land. Along that same line, I already have Icarid in here. So this can come back for free every upkeep as long as you exile a black creature from your graveyard. It's a 3/1 haste, and then it sacks itself, so you get a ping off Judith. Another one that I had was Heap Scrounger. Another creature that can't block, but it's even a little bit more powerful than Bloodghast. It's 3 power for 2 mana, and then you can pay a 1 and a black to exile a creature from your graveyard to return it straight to the battlefield. So I think the Heap Scrounger, for example, would play well in both versions of the deck, whereas Icarid maybe not if we're just going Suicide Black-Red. It probably would be a little bit more boring of a deck, to be honest, to go Suicide Black-Red. I mean, I'd probably have to start jamming in like Goblin Guide, Satyr, all those like 2 power 1 drops, Firewalker thing. There's a whole class of creatures that sack themselves for value, and I think those kind of make some sense here. Mog Fanatic, for example. I love 1-drops in this deck. This one is kind of like a Seal of Fire, I guess, with Judith out, because you can sack it to deal 1 damage or 2 damage. You could nug them for 2. You could deal 2 to a creature, or you could divide it up between two creatures. So it's the kind of card, especially when paired with Judith, that can just murder any deck that relies on mana dorks. And then like Goblin Churgeon. Here's a goblin for you, Tuk. This card, I've played against it a lot. It's very annoying again, like Grenzo and stuff. But you can sack a goblin to regenerate a creature. So this is a good way to keep Judith alive. It's really cheap. It's a 0/2, so again, maybe not the best in like the Suicide Black-Red version. I forgot to start the timer. All right, let's go. Let's put it at 50 minutes. All right. And then another goblin, Goblin Crater Maker, sacks itself to deal 2 damage to a creature or destroy basically an artifact. Colorless non-land permanent. I guess you could get an Eldrazi with it or something. And then there's a whole kind of class of creatures that provide some value, like Enter the Battlefield abilities, Brain Maggot, Kitesail Freebooter, Mesmeric Fiend. These cards seem quite strong, especially in the value version of the deck, just because they provide bodies for you that get pumped by Judith while also disrupting your opponent. So that seems pretty good. And then we have a couple ways to give Judith Death Touch. There actually aren't that many. Believe it or not, I did a search and I was actually kind of surprised at how few there were. But a couple of the good ones that I thought were playable were Basilisk Caller. So put this on Judith, and every time something dies, and if you want to ping a creature, the creature will just die because Judith has Death Touch. And then Retreat to Hagra. A little more expensive, but has a little bit more utility too. So it has landfall, and then when you play a land, you can give a creature +1/+0 and Death Touch. So then you can go forward and start sacking things, or you can just have you can drain your opponent for 1 every time you play a land. So that's pretty nice. And then we have some sack outlets. Actually, a few more good ones than we had with Teysa. Like this one's okay. Barrage of Expendables. Single mana for red enchantment. Pay red, but you have to pay red every time, which is the downside of this one. You can pay red, sack a creature, deal 1 damage to a creature or player. And then similarly, I already talked about Goblin Bombardment. Better because it's free. It doesn't have an activation cost. Same basic concept though. I did think that this was another good deck for Spawning Pit. Free outlet to sack a creature, and then gives you some resilience against wraths. I mean, you already have kind of some resilience against wraths with Judith's ability, but Spawning Pit lets you make tokens, and those tokens, of course, get pumped by Judith when she gets recast. Some of these sack outlets require mana, like Timuret, but this is a sack outlet that is still valid even when they wipe your board completely of like artifacts, enchantments, creatures, whatever. It doesn't matter. This ability can still work in your graveyard, so that's kind of cool. What else? One of my favorite cards of all time, Greater Gargadon. Sorry, I can't. Maybe I can do it here. Okay. Oop. Greater Gargadon. On turn 1, you can just pay a red to spend 10, but from completely outside the game, just from exile, you can sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land, remove a time counter, and then get a 9/7. So that's an awesome way to sack for free, even if they blow up your Goblin Bombardment or something like that. So I'll put that back over here. There's a whole other classic cards here that... whoop, there it goes. Oh, what? Am I missing any sack outlets? Falconwrath Aristocrat's a great one. Sack a creature, give it indestructible. It's just a huge beater. Just comes down 4-power flyer for 4 mana with haste. There's a bunch of there's some incentive, of course, to run tokens because of Judith's pump ability. Even though you don't get the ping when the creatures die, the pump can be pretty valuable. So that's why I have already here. Let's see, Pia Nalar. I didn't go too ham on this already, but I probably put what I thought were maybe the 3 or 4 best token makers. Pia Nalar gets a Thopter to play, so that flying is really nice because a 2-power flyer can do some damage. That's quite a clock. And Goblin Rabblemaster, Pia and Kiran Nalar. Again, you get 2 Thopters with these 2. And Siege Gang Commander. So, another Goblin. Not hearing... Oh, and we have Young Pyromancer. Can't forget him. Or her. Probably him. Yeah, it's a him. So, before we start adding any more cards, I was just hoping to get some feedback from you guys as far as direction you want to go with the deck. Once again, we have black-red Suicide, black-red, or black-red Value. Sounds like the black-red Value might be winning out a little bit currently. If I don't hear anything from you guys, I'm just going to assume we're going to go that direction. And I might, you know... just pick some cards out myself. So if we're going value, Suicide Black-Red is kind of like what you'd imagine like Kari Zev to be, except maybe a little more creatures and less burn. Really cheap, like the converted mana cost, the average converted mana cost would be even less. Then it'd be like, I don't know, 2 or something really stupid small. Like Judith might even be close to the top of the curve in the Suicide Black-Red. Also, like cards here, let me just give you an example of a card that perfectly encapsulates what I mean by Suicide Black-Red. I didn't have it on my list yet. I can add it and show you. Okay, Reckless Abandon. 1 red mana for a sorcery as an additional cost. You have to sack a creature. Deals 4 damage to target creature or player. So it's almost like a single red lava axe with Judith out. And you're sacrificing board position. It's a really cheap spell. You're sacrificing board position, but you're just trying to get them from 20 to 0 as quickly as possible. But this isn't necessarily the kind of card you'd play in like a more value-oriented version. Yeah, black-red creature-based burn. That's a good way to put it. Goblin Guide, Monastery Swift Spear. What else? A lot of 1-drops. Blood. There's like a blood. Some of the black 1-drops that are 2 power are pretty cool, and they might even work in the value version. There's a 2 power 1-drop. It has like raid, and if you triggered raid, you can bring him back for a single just 2 mana. You can't block. I'm forgetting his name. I need to open that up. Some Scryfall. Get some Scryfall going. But yeah, just okay. Let's go with value. I agree. I think it's more interesting. Suicide Black-Red is a little boring. All right, I'm trying to think of this card. It's a 1 mana black card. It might even go in the value version. Bloodsoaked Champion, that's what it was. So this is 2/1 for a single black. Can't block, but if you attack with a creature, you can return it back from your graveyard to play for just a single black and a red. I don't know, something to consider. If we're going, I'm trying to think if any of these cards would not really be good in the value version. I think most of them would still. Like even Mog Fanatic. I think I might need a few more 1-drops regardless, because I'm a little low on 1-drop creatures. But I have a couple sack outlets that are 1 mana, Carrion Feeder and Viscera Seer, just like we had in Teysa. And then, I mean, obviously Goblin Churgeon is not beating down very much. And then Mog Fanatic is just a 1-power creature for 1 mana. Pilfering Imp is a nice one for the value version too, because it flies, so Judith turns into a 2-power flyer, then you can sack it to kind of coercion them, and then maybe plink off a mana dork or something on the way out. Let's see. I think you're the only one watching Tuk Tuk. Oh goodness. I didn't advertise this one as well as the last one. But anyway, let's just keep going. The other kind of cards that will like kind of make sense in the value version. Again, like some stuff that we had in Teysa, stuff that makes a creature when it dies. Carrier Thrall. Carrier Thrall is a 2 mana, 2/1. When it dies, you get a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion. And then we had like Midnight Reaper. I was kind of on the fence about including this in the preliminary 60. Whenever a non-token creature dies, deals 1 damage to you, and you draw a card. So pretty nice with all the sack outlets. And Flesh Carver. This thing can kind of get out of control. 2/2 for 3 mana, but it has Intimidate. Pay 2 mana, sack another creature to put 2 counters on it. And then when it dies, you get an XX black horror creature token, where X was its power when it died. So provides a lot of value in the mid game. Yeah, speaking of ways to abuse the sack outlets, the monkey from Kari Zev seems pretty nice with like Goblin Bombardment. You get a 2/1 monkey named Ragavan that you can just sack before it dies. Another great token maker is Loyal Apprentice. It's a 2/1 haste and has Lieutenant, so at the beginning of combat of your turn, if you control your commander, you get a 1/1 colorless Thopter creature token with flying, and that token has haste. This card is insane. I haven't seen it come up a lot, I guess. It's a relatively new card, Commander 2018, I think, but in decks like Akiri or even Kari Zev, this card seems nuts. All right. Yeah. If we're going slow, we can think about maybe putting Duretti, Ingenious Iconoclast. This is a cheap Planeswalker. Make a colorless construct token. The token has Defender, but it's going to be a 2/1 with Judith out. And you can sacrifice an artifact to deal to destroy an artifact or creature. So that provides a lot of value as the game goes along. What else? I already have Custody Lich in here. This card is crazy good too. You get the Monarch, so that's going to give you a lot of card draw over time. And every time you become the Monarch, target player sacks a creature. Hope I didn't stifle creativity by preloading this a little bit. There's a couple Orzhov cards that are like mono black that have Afterlife. That could be good. I don't have them in XMage yet though. What else? What else makes tokens? A womp womp. Kind of blanking. I mean, there's like Legion Warboss. It's like a worse version of Rabble Master. I put a lot of burn in here because I think it's pretty useful, especially burn that can go to the face. But I think I only have I think I only have Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt for 1 mana burn spells, because you kind of want a critical mass of creatures. Jacob says to stop recreating Grenzo every chance he gets. It's a tuk-tuk. Yeah. It's tempting. There's a lot of really hardcore like black, red, and I guess Mardu players or Goblins players in our Discord community. I think that's kind of funny. Oh, I did remember one creature I thought of earlier too for going for the value route. Reassembling Skeleton. Yeah. I actually did think about Grenzo for this deck. I think I think you could make a strong case for Grenzo in the 99. I'm realizing too that I'm like not updating my it's hard to do both of these things. Can you guys see the Google sheet stuff getting added? I think I can get it up to date here a little bit. Jacob, do you have any suggestions for black red value Judith build? I'm gonna reassembling skeleton. Oh, another one if you're going kind of long is Mortar Pod. I actually really like this card in I like this card a lot in Braids. I have a Braids deck. Speaking of Braids, I have Braids in here too. Mortar Pod, it's 2-mana equipment with Living Weapon, and it gives you a creature the ability to sack itself to deal 1 damage to a creature or player. So it's basically like turns a creature into a Mog Fanatic and +1 toughness. But with Judith out, you can just start gunning stuff down. Ooh, we got a couple other good suggestions here. Living Death and Balthor the Defiled. Yeah. Living Death is nice when you have so many sack outlets because you can just sack your whole board and get it back right away. Balthor is a little expensive, if I remember correctly. So Balthor the Defiled is 4-mana 2/2. All minions get +1/+1. You can pay triple black, exile it, and each player returns all black and red creature cards from their graveyard to play. It could be a little dangerous if they were playing black or red. But it's worth considering. Okay, Karizev. We do have Karizev already. Yes, Bantu is a great suggestion. Did think about this guy. Bantu the Glorified. 4/6 for 3, but it's not a creature unless a creature under your control died. But that should be pretty trivial to get in this deck. And then it's another sack outlet that also pings them. So you can just kind of plink them, kind of drain them. It's a lot of reach in that sense. Bomat Courier. Ooh, I forgot about Claim to Fame. All right, we got Bomat Courier, Anathemancer. If you guys need to know what these do, just let me know. I'll zoom in on them. Let's see, Claim to Fame. 1 mana, return a creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, and Aftermath, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. That's a nice one. Ooh, Fulminator Mage, I forgot about that. And Shriekmaw. Let's get Shriekmaw in first. Now the juices are flowing. The one downside to Shriekmaw is like there's so much black in Duel Commander, I feel, that there's a chance it misses. But certainly a strong card. Makes a lot of sense. You get an extra plink with Judith. Fulminator Mage. Yeah, that's a great one. Dread Return and Dread Wanderer. Dread Return depends how big we want to go. Again, it's kind of the same problem as last week. Or we don't really have any huge creatures. We're not really a Reanimator deck. But I will say that I already preloaded a couple cards that are kind of like Claim to Fame. Like I have Unearth. I think this card's great. Like a really cheap reanimation spells. Unearth, Reanimate itself, which again can get anything, even creatures in their graveyard, no matter how big it is. Thoughtseize their Gristlebrand, then reanimate it. Yeah, a lot of good suggestions here. I think I got everything so far up to, okay, Rakdos Charm. Rakdos Charm. not really seeing the synergy with Rakdos Charm. Yeah. It's just, I mean, modal spells are great, but yeah, I don't know. It might have a place. Grafted War-Gear. Yeah, I did think of this one too. This is great. I even thought of, okay, I'll get to that in a sec. Grafted War-Gear. This is a great card because it's 0 equip cost and gives +3/+2, but when it comes unattached, you sacrifice a creature, which, again, we're trying to sack creatures here, so it's kind of its sack outlet. Sorcery speed. Garna the Blood Flame. I'm going to have to update my Google Sheet too pretty soon. Garna. A little expensive. You can get back all the creatures that were put to your graveyard if you want to make a big sacrifice turn. Skin Invasion. I don't even know what this does. Okay. 1 mana aura. Chant a creature attacks this turn if able. When it dies, return Skin Invasion to transformed. And then it comes a 3/4. Okay. So you can put it on your own creature. That's pretty cool. maybe more in the Suicide Black-Red deck. Okay, Golgari Thug. Yeah. So when this thing dies, you get to get a creature back on top of your library. It's a little slow, but I could see it. Let me update my my Google Sheet here while we're thinking of more things. Ideally, I'd like to have someone else like do this. I don't have to enter these cards twice. Let's see here. We got Grenzo, Mortarpod, Rakdos Charm. We got Mortarpod, Rakdos Charm, and Golgari Thug. I really like Claim to Fame. That seems super sweet. Okay, Legion War Boss. Bond 2. Anathemancer. Claim to Fame. Yeah, Jacob, that's a good suggestion. Morbid. I actually looked up a few, like Tragic Slip. Yep, Tragic Slip is great. I already have Brimstone Volley in the list here because I thought it was just like pretty sweet. But Tragic Slip makes sense too. There's even a card called Malicious Affliction, which again, if black wasn't so prevalent in Duel Commander, I would like slam in here. It's 2 black mana, so it's kind of black intensive, but it's an instant. Destroy a non-black creature, and then if you have Morbid, you can destroy another non-black creature. I always kind of want to fit that in a deck, and it never quite. I always kind of find an excuse to cut it. We have Murderous Redcap already, right? Okay. Balthor. All right, I've got 25 minutes left on the clock for suggestions. All right, Living Death, Shriekmaw, and Garna. All right, I think I caught up my Excel list, or my Google Sheets list rather. Yeah. No, that's good. Bring on the suggestions. That's what this segment is for. We're gonna cut cards eventually, but first we gotta add them. Collateral damage, costly plunder. Nether Trader, Oath of Ghouls, and Oversold Cemetery. This is Tuk Tuk. What do you think about Oversold Cemetery, perhaps, instead of Oath of Ghouls? I know they're kind of really similar cards. I'm a little, after that, I think it was against you. I played against Grenzo, and Oath of Ghouls was just god-awful for me. I had it in like a Sidisi deck where it should be amazing, but like black-red goblins just sacrifice too many creatures. Oh, you already said Oversold Cemetery, derp. Yeah, Jinxed Idol. That's what I'm talking about. I love Jinxed Idol. This is really awesome against like creature light decks too. Recurring Nightmare. Yep. It's a little on the expensive side, I guess. I mean, it's obviously an amazing card, but if we're just getting back a 1-drop with it, it's not as exciting. But I like the idea. I think it makes a lot of sense. Creature Matters enchantments. Can you be a little more specific about that, Jacob? Creature Matters enchantment. Sanitarium Skeleton. All right. It's kind of cool. I think I would play Reassembling Skeleton before this one. Just a lot more mana efficient when you're going off, but it's worth considering. All right. Oh. Oath of Ghouls is a Creature Matters enchantment. Yeah, in the sense that it's counting the creatures in each player's graveyard. Kind of like that cycle with Oath of Druids and stuff. Dredge cards, Stinkweed Imp. I don't love Stinkweed Imp in this deck, or Dredge cards in general, just because I don't know, we're not really reanimating too much. We're not doing, I mean, we're doing a little bit with the graveyard, but not, I don't know. I guess it depends, again, what the direction you want to go with this deck, because I wasn't envisioning over-reliance on the graveyard, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean, Jacob. Oath of Ghouls, yeah. It's tricky, especially when you don't necessarily have self-mill. I guess you have... I mean, I played it in Sidisi, but Sidisi's can mill yourself from the command zone. Yeah, Black-Red Suicide is one way to stock up your graveyard. That's true. All right, let me just add a few of these cards to my Google Sheet while you're thinking of some more. Did I get collateral damage on there? I don't think so. Let's see. Didn't get anything past Golgari Thug. Okay. Oh, Costly Plunder. Yeah, I mean, what would you, if you were building this deck, Jacob? What would you, what direction would you want to go with it? Yeah, we kind of, what I said to in the first part of the stream was the two biggest directions I saw to go with this deck were Black-Red Suicide, and by that I mean kind of like Aristocrats, but even more also along the lines of like just Kari Zev, just like straight kill you as fast as possible with like cheap, like 2-power 1-drops and stuff like that. I get Grafted War-Gear already? I don't think so. And then like Value, which is just like grinding out advantage with Judith and sacrifice tricks and stuff like that. But we decided to go with the Value version because, and it's already, we only have 20 minutes left to add suggestions. But yeah. Should have gotten here earlier if you wanted to go Suicide. I mean, there's still gonna be aristocratic elements, so to speak. Because I mean, I'm gonna play cards like Falcon Wrath Aristocrat no matter what. Like, those cards are just too good not to play. And I do have, I mean, it's an open question still whether we want to play cards like Pia and Kira and Nalar, Pia and Nalar, in Siege Gang Commander, stuff like that. You guys are changing it up on me. Well, I guess we got to make a distinction too between aristocrats and suicide black red, because like I said, to me there is kind of a difference. What are some other what are some other sack outlets for aristocrats besides Falcon Wrath Aristocrat and Goblin Bombardment? You don't have any of the, I guess we have Carrion Feeder, Viscera Seer already in there. Barrage of Expendables, Goblin Bombardment. Do you guys want to play cards like Goblin Guide and all the 2-power 1-drops? Makeshift munitions. Yeah, let's get that one in there. It is a worse Goblin Bombardment, but you can sacrifice an artifact. Get those last few points of damage in. Sack your Mortar Pod or something. Bowmat, or I don't know, Skull Clamp. I think more creatures along the lines of Bloodsoaked Champion. I keep coming back to this guy. This is good in both aristocrats and like just a suicide, like black aggro, red aggro. Goblin Guide. All right. Goblin Guide forever. What about Monastery Swift Spear? I don't know if Contamination... I don't know if this is the deck for Contamination, because we need to make red mana too, and like I think Contamination works in a mono black deck. I mean, I think I even cut it. I don't know. In theory, it's a good card, but like a prison card. But I ended up cutting it even from like Braids, which I can't imagine a more like ideal deck for Contamination than Braids. I just added Zergo, and let's add Carnophage or Phage, I don't know. Get that in there. Get in there, Carnophage. There's a Vampire Lacerator. How's that one? There's a new one too, Gutter Bones. I don't know if you guys saw that. From Ravnica Legions. It would be a good one to put in if it was eventually. It's not on XMage yet, but we'll put it in there. All right, I'm gonna update my little list here. Goblin Guide. I don't know if this is even worthwhile. Yeah, Fireblade Artist is a cool one. So this is a new card from Allegiance, Ravnica Allegiance. Red and a black for a 2/2 haste, and on your upkeep you can sack a creature. And if you do, it deals like 2 damage to the opponent, I believe. Or maybe opponent or planeswalker. Which is pretty cool. Alright, any other creatures we want to add? Oh yeah, let's talk about lands. I didn't add any special lands, and I have lands that are part of my black-red staples like template file. So like all the dual lands and like stuff like Bojuka Bog, Urborg and stuff like that. But I didn't add Phyrexian Tower. That's a really good suggestion. Just like we did Teysa. Sack a creature to add 2 black. Yes, please. Barbarian Ring. Yeah, if we're going suicide. That makes sense. So this one, if you have Threshold, you can pay a black or pay a red and sack it to deal 2 damage to any target. High Market. Another one. Not as good of a payoff as like Phyrexian Tower, obviously, but it is a sack outlet. That's pretty resilient to a lot of different removals. I think even like lands that make tokens could be good, like Care Keep. I don't know. This might be going too deep. You can make a 1 Kobold for just like 1 in a red and tapping the land. So with Judith, it's a 1/1. Woo! Yeah. I'm not sure. Do I have the man land in there? I don't know if I have that. Death Shadow. Wow. That is pretty ambitious. I didn't think about it, but that totally makes sense in a suicide deck. All right. Should we Dismember. Yeah, it's great with Death Shadow. Should we start wrapping it up and go to cutting? Because we have 137 cards, but that's including the land, so it's a lot more manageable to cut down from here than last week. But if there's anything else you guys want to add to this Aristocrats version of Judith, let me know. While we're doing that, I'm going to add a few of these cards to the spreadsheet. Are you guys even looking at this spreadsheet? I don't think there's enough people really online to make use of it. The idea was you could see what was suggested and added already in one place, but I don't think anyone's really looking at it. Did I get makeshift munitions in here? No. Okay, Dismember. Dismember is just a great card in general. All right. We didn't really talk too much about payoffs for when stuff dies. Like, we talked a lot about it with Teysa last week, but we have a lot of outlets. We have a lot of sack outlets. We have a lot of creatures that sacrifice themselves. But what kind of creature, do we have creatures we want to like fodder that like has a death trigger? There's one new one. I'm not gonna be able to add it right now, but it's like Footlight Fiend or something. It's pretty cool. It's like just a 1/1 for a red and black hybrid, but when it dies, you can deal 1 damage to any target, which is pretty cool. Kind of like a Mog Fanatic, but if you have another sack out, you can get even more value. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting some stuff here if we don't get any more suggestions. I mean, you can keep adding suggestions later if we missed anything, but all right, I think we have a good base. So I'm going to reset this hourglass, and I thought of or this timer. Thought of a good way or a better way to kind of collect all of the cards we want to cut or cards we want to keep, and that is I'm gonna be ambitious here. I'm gonna put 20 minutes for cutting, because I want to keep this moving along. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm gonna drag all the cards over that we for sure want to keep into the sideboard area, and that way I can just delete everything that's not part of these keepable cards. And when we get enough such cards, then we'll call it. It'll be probably a little bit more efficient to do it that way. All right, last suggestion, Hero of Oxide Ridge. Nice, I didn't even think about that one. This hits really hard. I mean, kind of along the same lines as like Hell Rider too. You could even consider Hell Rider, but not really sure what's better. Spark Elemental. Yeah, Spark Elemental kind of makes sense. Or Hell Spark Elemental. We're cutting into our cutting card time by adding more cards. That's okay. All right, we got Spark Elemental, Hell Spark Elemental. That's it. I don't know why I didn't think of those. Yeah, Keldon Marauders. This is jackpot, Jacob. This makes like a ton of sense. I should know Karizev better. Should probably run a lot of cards like this. All right. So let's go ahead and we also didn't think about, well, I don't want to add stuff necessarily, but like other spells and some sorceries that maybe deal damage. I have a lot of the staples in there already, but let's go ahead and add cards that we want for sure to the for our sideboard area. So Barrage of Expendables. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there because I think that's kind of exactly what we want. Basilisk Caller. Do we want Basilisk Caller? I thought this card was pretty neat. It's not like suicide-y. It's more like a value. It's more like a good card in the value version of the deck, but I don't know. It could be okay in the Aristocrats version. I'll pass on it. I do like Bloodsoaked Champion a lot. I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna add Bomat Courier, Carrion Feeder, Carnophage. I don't really know about for sure because I think it's probably one of the weaker 2-power 1-drops. I'm gonna go ahead and add Chain Lightning, Collateral Damage, Death Shadow. I don't know about that one. I'm gonna add Dread Wanderer. I think the card's pretty good. Okay, do we want the Duress, Thoughtseize, Inquisition package? Or is that dirtling around too much? We obviously want a kind of a critical mass of creatures here. So that... I mean, I usually play these in almost every black deck, so... Probably if it were up to me, I would run them. And I'm not hearing any opposition, so I'm going to put it in there. Fatal Push I'm going to put in because I think it's really easy to turn on Revolt in this deck. I'm going to put Goblin Churgeon in there too. Goblin Guide. Inquisition, Lightning Bolt. Mog Fantastic. I like Pilfering Imp, so I'm going to put that in there. We got a lot more 1-drops now than my original kind of prototype build. Reanimate, I like that. Aristocrats, I'm gonna skip Sanitarium Skeleton. Skin Invasion's interesting. I don't know if we can count on having enough sack outlets to really make great use of this necessarily. I'm gonna hold off for now. I'm gonna put Skull Clamp in. Soul Scar Mage I think is awesome for all the reasons we discussed. Spark Elemental. I'll put it in for now. Thoughtseize. I'm gonna skip Tragic Slip. I kind of want our removal to be also burn for the most part. Be able to go for the dome. I like Unearth a lot. I like Vampire Lacerator, Viscera Seer, and Zergo. Alright, that's kind of like 24 1-drops, so that's a lot. Hey, Kexivieli, if I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome back. I did actually, that's a really good point you bring up, Cabal Therapy. Because Cabal Therapy is a card on the face of it that doesn't seem playable in Duel Commander, and I kind of thought that for a long time, but I'm kind of coming around on it. But you kind of need to run a lot of discard, I feel like, to really make good use of that. But it is an awesome free like sack outlet. And if I'm willing to be outvoted in the chat here if you guys want to run Cabal Therapy. I don't think we're like lacking sack outlets. All right, do we want Bitter Blossom? I'm gonna put Bloodghast in for sure. Brain Maggot's interesting because it doesn't. You can't sacrifice it with like the trigger on the stack and keep their card forever. So I'll skip Brain Maggot for now. I'll skip Carrier Thrall. I like Dark Confidant a lot. Demonic Tutor, Diabolic Intent. I think these are both great cards. Okay, Dreadbore is interesting because it's like really efficient removal, but it does not go to the face. So do you think we want a card like that? Kind of an open question. Goblin Bombardment's definitely getting in. Crater Maker, I think, quite good. Grenzo. I'll put Grenzo in to make Tuk Tuk happy. Hellspark Elemental, I like that card. Hymn to Turok. I think's nice. Incinerate. Jinxed Idol. Not sure about that one. I'll come back to that one. Kari Zev, I'm going to put in. Keldon Marauders, I'm going to put in. Kitesail Freebooter. I think Kitesail Freebooter makes the cut. Definitely more so than like Brain Maggot. Lightning Greaves, I had this one in here. I think it's a nice way to protect Judith. And I don't know, haste is pretty nice in a deck like this. But I could consider maybe not running it. Lightning Strike, I'm putting in Loyal Apprentice. Don't know if Makeshift Munitions is good enough. It just seems like paying 1 to playing something for 1 might not quite get there. I do like Mesmeric Fiend, though. A lot. I'm going to hold off on Mortar Pod. Another Trader. Jacob says Judith triggers only non-tokens. So tokens are not that strong. Well, yes and no. I mean, she also pumps all your creatures +1/+0. So I think there's a few cards that make like 1/1 Thopter tokens, and I think those are quite good. But I wouldn't play like, I don't know, Mog War Marshal or something, for example. I mean, I would consider it, but I don't think it's at its peak. That's not a great example, but like, or like what's Hordling Outburst or something like that. I think you kind of want, I mean, you want tokens in an Aristocrats deck, right? Like you want fodder for your Goblin Bombardment and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're not like, I mean, Teysa was a little bit clearer. You wanted tokens because they got Vigilance and Lifelink, but you know, here it's a little more indirect. Yeah, Grenzo's a great mana sink. That's a good point. I'm gonna skip over these two. I'm gonna add Scrap Heap Scrounger. I think that card's great. Searing Spear, Smuggler's Copter is stupid good. Spawning Pit, I think that's a great sack outlet. I like Timoret, the Murder King. And Young Pyromancer is interesting. I don't know if, again, it makes this the 1/1 ground token, so it's not like that insane. So maybe I'll leave off Young Pyromancer. And there's a lot of creatures in this deck, so maybe we don't have enough instants and sorceries. So just to remind you guys, what you're seeing here right now is like cards that aren't making the current final cut. I still kind of like Blood Moon for the free wins, so I'm gonna put that in there. Bontu the Glorified. Yeah, I think this card gets there. I think it earns its place. I'm getting a little I'm probably adding too many cards here. But okay, Brimstone Volley for sure. I like Claim to Fame a lot. I might skip Duretti. It's just a little dirtily. I mean, it's a great card, but I think we want to win faster than that. I'm even gonna skip Dismember. Well, for the reason it doesn't go to the face, and currently I don't have Death Shadow in the deck, so I'm gonna skip over Dismember. But I think Fire Covenant is awesome. I mean, this card is nuts in like a Rakdos beatdown deck. Just pay a bunch of life. I mean, these would be great cards too with Death Shadow. Well, I think we have some payoffs for sacking tokens. I mean, obviously, just getting indestructible on Falcon Wrath Aristocrat's not enough of a payoff, but whatever. Okay, Fulminator Mage. I don't know about that one. I think Goblin Rebel Master is good. Oh, I had Grafted War-Gear. Yeah, I think Grafted War-Gear is probably good. I have this Karizev's Expertise because to me it's like one of the best threaten effects, and threatens normally aren't really that playable in Duel Commander, but when we have this many sack outlets, I think it could be pretty strong. If you can play a 2-drop off of it, effectively costs 1 mana. I'm going to put it in. Kulagon's Command. Liliana the Last Hope. Another great card because shrinks creatures by 1 toughness, but that just makes it all the more easy to pick off with Judith. And it's just a great card in general. I think I'm going to skip Legion War Boss. I'm going to put Megas the Moon in. I'm going to put Midnight Reaper in. PNLR. Yeah. We might have too many 3-drops. That's a good point, Jacob. I'm going to skip... I think since we're going Aristocrats here, instead of like pure value, I think I'm going to skip Retreat to Hagra. The interaction there was giving Judith Death Touch so she could gun down some more stuff. This is a card I didn't talk about yet, but I put it in my list. Bone Picker. I think it's effectively has Morbid, but it's a kind of like a 1 black mana for a 3/2 flying Death Touch. So I think I'm totally in for that. Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. I don't know about Hero of Oxide Ridge necessarily. I like I like Icarid. I like Murderous Redcap, and I like Pia and Kira and Nalar. Once we get up to 5, it's they have to be really good to earn their spot. I think, in my opinion, Custody Lich gets there. I think this card is very, very strong. I don't know, like having a Diabolic Edict effect in the deck is good. It's a creature, so it gets benefit of pump from Judith. You can get the Monarch, so if you can prevent yourself from getting attacked back, it's just game over. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put Eldrazi Monument in there. I think that card's great. I'm going to put in Living Death, Siege Gang, and Greater Gargadon. Okay, so I'll show you what I kind of have here. Hopefully you guys can see that. So right now I have in my sideboard, just temporarily, I have the cards I'm kind of like are the final cuts here. We have 5 minutes. If I thought of playing like 39 lands in this deck. I think you don't need to play a whole lot. I think it's a pretty low curve deck. So that being said, I think that would mean just 9 more cuts out of here. So I'm just going to take 9 of these cards and put them back over to the other pile. Let me save this, by the way, before I do anything else. Okay. Why PNLR? PNLR, it's a good, I mean, she might go eventually, but PNLR makes a Thopter token. I think the 1/1 flying tokens are very strong with Judith because she makes them into 2/1. 2/1 flying. 2/1 flying is a real threat. Like, they have to respect that. And you can sacrifice it to make something not able to block, and then you can ping something else. and she's a mana sink, so I think she's just a strong card. But I could see cutting her ultimately. We're a little high on 3-drops. What do you guys? Okay, we need to cut 9 cards. Do you want to cut Pia Kexi Viele? If you're passionate about it, I'll get Pia back out of there. I have no problem doing that. Currently we have 24 1-drops, 21 2-drops, 14 3-drops because Judith counts. 5 4-drops, 4 5-drops, and 1 Greater Gargadon in a class of its own. All right, 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes to cut 9 cards here. Just throw some cards out at me. Hopefully you guys can see most of these. We want to cut here. I'm trying to think. We have a lot of 1-drop. I mean, we can consider cutting some 1-drops. I think the weakest 1-drop is probably... What does the Dread Wanderer do? The card's good. I'm not sold on Barrage of Expendables, but I think it's probably fine. Pilfering Imp, maybe Spark Elemental. Spark Elemental is not a good turn 1 play. I'm going to cut Spark Elemental. Bye, Sparky. 2-drops. This deck doesn't have any like silver bullets, so I'm almost honestly wondering whether Diabolic Intent is really necessary. Normally it'd be like a slam dunk, like amazing, great card. I mean, I don't know what I would really grab with it. All right, we'll take Pia out. Bye, Pia. All right, Bantu. I can see Bantu. You kind of need to. It's kind of a. Bantu's kind of a win more card. Not a win more, but like, yeah, I guess you could say win more. It's like, I don't know. You have to have a lot of creatures for that to be kind of optimal. Fire Covenant, really? You think you should cut Fire Covenant? That card seems really good to me. I might have to veto that. Kind of the same with. I kind of feel the same about Liliana, the Last Hope. I think this card is specifically because giving your opponent's creature -1 toughness, you can just finish something off with the ping from Judith. But since we have 1 minute and a half left only in cutting, and this I feel like generous. This is a collaborative session. I'll cut Liliana. I don't think I'm going to cut Fire Covenant, though. I think that card's too good. All right, we need to cut 5 cards. I think I might cut Diabolic Intent. Am I crazy for wanting to cut Diabolic Intent? All right. I'm going to cut Diabolic Intent. All right. We have 47 seconds. Got to cut 4 cards here. Probably still have a few too many 3s. Claim to Fame isn't really a 3-drop. I'll cut Midnight Reaper. Maybe we have a few too many 4s and 5s. Although Bone Picker isn't really a 4. Maybe Siege Gang's a little too expensive. I'll cut Siege Gang. Karizev's expertise seems acute. All right. I don't know. Timer expired. Okay, one more cut. One more cut, guys. I just cut Karizev's expertise. Need one more cut. What's it going to be? Eldrazi Monument? Okay, fair enough. We're a little more lower to the ground. All right. We cut a few expensive cards in the last few seconds here. Siege Gang, Eldrazi Monument, some other stuff. All right, we have our deck. You guys think 39 lands is reasonable for this? I could probably go to 38, but I think I don't want to risk it. Yeah, trying to outgrind partners is like a losing battle. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is save this one last time, and then I'm gonna get rid of all these cards that we decided not to play. So let's take one last look over this. Yeah, it seems fine. I don't see anything. I guess Braids. What do you guys think of Braids? I kind of glossed over her when I was adding cards in. It's a little bit more of the value. It's a little less Suicide Black and more of the value. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna get rid of these and then add all these back. I think that's everything. Okay. Oh, get in there, Greater Gargadon. All right, let's add one more little timer here for mana base. You think Copter's too slow, really? Copter's some... I like Copter even more when you have a commander that's curves right after the Copter, like Judith. Like, you playing Copter on turn 2, you're attacking with a 4/3 flyer if you play Judith. Yeah. I'm gonna have to agree with Tuk Tuk on this one. All right, let's put a 5-minute timer for our mana base. So right now I have 35 lands in here, and that includes the lands that we all discussed earlier, like Barbarian Ring, Phyrexian Tower, High Market, but it also includes stuff we probably want to cut. In fact, there's only room for 4 basics right now, so that's not really that viable. I'm going to cut Bojuka Bog, I think, because I don't know if we want to risk having it come into play tap land. That I don't know if we care about their graveyard too much. I mean, we have Living Death, I guess, but other than that, it's not really that big a deal. I'm going to cut Canyon Slough. Feel free to shout out anything you see here, too, if you want me to cut it. I don't think we need Ash Barrens. Although Ash Barrens, interestingly, I think is one of the coolest cards against Blood Moon, or even with Blood Moon, if you know, obviously we're running Blood Moon and Magus the Moon, so Ash Barrens is a sweet way to kind of get around that. I don't think this is an Ancient Tomb deck. What else? Dragon Skull Summit seems fine. I don't think this is a Dust Bowl deck. Oh shit, I forgot about Hangerback Walker. That was hiding in there with my lands. Do we want Hangerback Walker, guys? Or is that too slow? Chew on that for a sec. I think If Near Deadlands is fine. I don't think we want Carekeep, ultimately. Lava Claw Reach is probably fine. Do we want Mishra's Factory and Mutavault? I'm cutting Path. Cutting Path of Ancestry. Cutting Rishadan Port. I think our mana is just a little bit too taxed. I'm going to cut Temple of Malice. And Tectonic Edge. And maybe, yeah, I'm going to cut Smoldering Marsh too. I think want to make sure to get our early plays. You want to cut the Black-Red Manland, Jacob? Or do you... Hanger is more mid-range. Okay, let's cut Hangerback Walker. Wasn't in our list anyway. All right, so currently we have a couple manlands. We do have Lava Claw Reaches, Mishra's Factory, and Mutavault. Do you think those are fine, or should we get rid of them? Okay. All right. That's fine. I'm sold. I do like these deserts though. Like I like If Near Deadlands and Ramanop Ruins because the damage doesn't really matter so much unless we're playing against other similar super hyper aggro deck. But the ability to nug them for 2 with Ramanop or kill a creature with If Near Deadlands is pretty nice. Yeah, Death Shadow. Sorry. If we put Death Shadow back in, I would be all of a sudden tempted to run like Dismember and Ancient Tomb and stuff like that. Hanger got cut. So right now we have 23 lands, which means we could add 17 basics. That seems fine. We have 23 non-basic lands, I should say. And that's counting all the fetch lands. Colorless mana is risky. So for colorless mana right now, we just have High Market, kind of Phyrexian Tower, Mistress Factory, Mutavault, Wasteland. Ban Judith with Grenzo via Mountain Stronghold. That's just like your wet dream, isn't it, Tuk Tuk? Love it. All right, we have 57 seconds to cut. We want to cut all the colorless lands, all like High Market, Mutavault, and Mistress Factory. We do have a lot of colored 1-drops. Yeah, no. You want to cut Ramanop Runes or keep it? Oh, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and make an executive decision to cut these colorless lands because I think colorless is quite a liability. I also have Graving Cairns, which might not necessarily be great because can't really make black or red on turn 1. 15 seconds. Just gotta add some basics. All right, so let's sort by color. See what we're working with here. It's almost evenly split, honestly. Okay, looks like we have even the mana is not too bad as far as pips, like Pia and Kieran's double red, Living Death's double black, Custody Lish is double black, Blood Gasp. But other than that, these spells look pretty castable. So, I'm gonna add about a similar amount of mountains and swamps. I guess we have like Scrap Heap Scrounger kind of counts sort of like a black card. Belmet Courier is kind of like a red card, so it kind of evens out. We have Urborg as a black land, Ramanop Ruins as a red land. I did cut High Market, Jacob. Yeah, I think you're correct. It was worth considering, but I do still have Phyrexian Tower in the deck. So I think even in our existing setup with non-basics, we're pretty much even on red and black. So I'm just going to add, let's see, we have 20 lands. I'm going to add like 10 and 10. Because a lot of the black cards, let's see. I'm not sure if there's more black or red 1-drops. I think there might be more black. You want to play like Duress on turn 1 or like Inquisition. All right, let's get 10 of each basic land type. I think that's fine. Cavernous Souls. I think it's Cavernous Souls still. Oh right, Blood Moon. Right. Maybe I'll add extra swamps for that. Cavernous Souls I still like because Judith is a human, and we also have like Magus the Moon's a human, Pia and Kieran Nalar's a human, Dark Confidant. So I think you want Cavern, even though it is somewhat of a liability. I think Soulscar Mage, yeah. So, I unless I get totally voted down, I think I'm gonna keep Cavern in there. Tuk made a good point about the Blood Moon effect, so let's make sure to get a few more swamps in for that reason. Maybe I'll go like 11-9. Yeah, I'll go 11-9. This timer thing is really nice. I'm like actually keeping to task. Okay, deck is complete. Let's save it. Thanks for your help, guys. I know there's going to be some Ravnica Allegiance editions. I don't even know, honestly, like, to me, like, the most powerful card for Rakdos out of Allegiance was, like, Bedevil, but I don't even think you want to run Bedevil in a deck like this. Yeah, I don't really count Scrounger as needing, as, like, requiring an extra swamp, but I do think the point about Blood Moons was good. Xander, you showed up just in time for us to show you our finished deck here. So we just finished. We have a nice mana curve here. We went the Aristocrats route, just to recap for everybody in summary. We went the Aristocrats route, so we have a lot of sacrifice outlets. It's very aggressive. A lot of reach. We have, honestly, I would guess the average converted mana cost of this deck to be like 2.2 or something, like really low. Oh, you guys gotta ring the bell if you want notifications for when I go live. It's a good segue. Ring the little bell on YouTube near this next to the subscribe button, and you'll get a notification to your phone. If you have YouTube on your phone, or if you're on your computer, you might even get a pop-up on Windows that I'm going live. And it's partly my fault because I didn't. I kind of swung this Let's Brew together at the last minute because I was hoping that XMage would be updated with Ravnica Allegiance, so where I could play Teysa, our deck from last week, but wasn't the case. So, yeah, we did a Let's Brew of Judith, and I think I'm pretty happy with. how it turned out. I think there's a little rough around the edges because we did stick to a timer, which I think was good overall. But yeah, so I'm gonna put this list on Tapped Out, and you guys, if you go back to the video description later on when I publish it, make it public for everybody, then you'll see the final list that we all kind of collaborated on here, worked on together, and I think it's pretty competitive. Let me do a quick check. Let me see if XMage.today is working right now, because if so, we could actually play. I could play this deck immediately, but it doesn't look like it is. So, yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up then. Thank you guys again. You guys are awesome. I love doing these Let's Brews. I think we're slowly getting to a formula that works really good, really well. So, yeah. I don't know why this XMage.today was actually working yesterday, and I played a few. I played a couple sealeds, like quick one-on-one sealeds with the new set, which was fun. But we'll have to wait till next week to play with these new decks. We have two decks. We have Judith and Teysa, so I think we'll have plenty of fun stuff to do next Sunday. And maybe I can play Wim's Vanifar deck. That would be sweet. See which one of the new legendaries is the best. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. See you next week, and I'll be better about posting notifications for people. I kind of scrapped this one. So, yeah, let's call it there. Take care. See you later.
Smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs inside you, and the blackened eyes make my way into your mind, just to know what you need.